Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, August 6th, episode 172 of the Betting Above the Rim podcast. And let's get started with our tip-off tops. Remember, this show is now once a week until about the middle of September. So these are the biggest stories in the NBA and WNBA over the last week. And let's lead off with Luka Doncic signing a massive extension to stay with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, it's not shocking that he signed it, and it's not shocking with the fact that he got the Supermax of 3 years, $165 million with a player option in 2028. Listen, when Rob Pelinka and the Lakers made this move for Luka Doncic, it was a signal of a shift of it being LeBron James's team to Luka Doncic's team. And when you think about what the Lakers did, they only gave one of these players an extension, and that's Luka Doncic. Why? Luka's younger, simply put. Now, LeBron James, who has signed for a player option this year, exercised his option at, I think, $52.5 million, is still a fantastic player. But at age 41, Father Time is undefeated. So the Lakers have now bet on their backcourt of the future of Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. Remember, Austin Reeves has not signed his extension yet. There's rumors that he wants $30+ million a year. At the end of the day, unless he's getting traded, which I don't think he will, Austin Reeves will be in the backcourt with Luka Doncic, who just signed a 3-year, $165 million extension with the Lakers. Speaking of extensions, De'Aaron Fox got all the money in his Louis bag, signing a 4-year, $229 million max, there's a word, max extension with the San Antonio Spurs. And it kind of makes me wonder and think, what are the Spurs doing? I remember talking with Kevin Walsh about this on Betting Above the Rim Pro Basketball today, a couple of weeks ago, how De'Aaron Fox basically wanted to go to San Antonio, and the Spurs just like, okay, we'll take him. But they had drafted Stephon Castle, and then they just drafted Dylan Harper. But then it kind of got me going with another part. De'Aaron Fox got the max. I want you to think about this. Is De'Aaron Fox a top 10 point guard in the NBA right now? Let's take a look. No particular order. These are guys I think are better than De'Aaron Fox. Luka Doncic of the Lakers. Obviously, best point guard in the league. Steph Curry, winner of 5 NBA championships, still playing at a high level. No, he isn't. Obviously, Jalen Brunson of the Knicks took his team to the Eastern Conference Finals, first time in 25 years. Absolutely not. Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons, and what he has done with that franchise to elevate them, getting him into the playoffs this past year. Trae Young, whose Atlanta team should be a top 4 or top 5 team in the East, and is still dynamic. People still talk about if he didn't hurt his ankle, they would have went to the NBA Finals, and Milwaukee wouldn't have beat him. I know he's hurt for most of the year. Kyrie Irving. You line up Kyrie or De'Aaron Fox. Who are you taking? I know, I'm taking Kyrie. Tyrese Maxey. No, he was injured last year. But Tyrese Maxey, he showed in the playoffs 2 years ago what he's capable of. It's not better than Tyrese Maxey. I'll give you another one. You may disagree because of his age. James Harden. Look how well he played over the last season. I'll give you more. I know he's hurt a lot too. What about LaMelo Ball? We'll get to them a little bit with the Charlotte Hornets on what I expect from them this season. And then I give you 2 guys that are going to be out this year. If they're not hurt, are you taking Dame Lillard or De'Aaron Fox? I'm taking Dame time. You taking Tyrese Halliburton or are you taking De'Aaron Fox? Remember, Sacramento traded Tyrese Halliburton to keep De'Aaron Fox in the first place. I'm taking Tyrese. So I just named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 point guards that I think are better than De'Aaron Fox. And then I didn't even count guys that are combo guard/point guards and like Devin Booker and Derek White. So now I'm giving the max to someone that is the 15th best point guard in the NBA. Some deals just don't make sense. A deal that did make sense is Mikal Bridges signing a 4-year, $150 million deal to stay with the Knicks. Folks, this is not shocking. It is not. When you give up 5 first-round picks, the Knicks were going to keep them. Here is the key. Here is the key with Mikal Bridges. Okay? First, the number is 150 instead of 156.1, meaning he did not sign the maximum that he could get. Number 2, that allows the Knicks to stay away from the second apron, allowing them to make other moves. Also, he could have waited like Brunson did and took the 4-year deal, which Brunson did as well. He could have waited a year and got a 5-year deal, which would have further handicapped the Knicks. So he basically did a lot of things to help New York out. He also signed it on July 31st and not August 6th. Why is that key? Because he signed on July 31st. That allows him, the Knicks, ready folks, to trade him 6 months rather than 1 year, which means he could be on the docket to get moved. Be on the lookout for that because the Knicks are in a Giannis sweepstakes. Mikal Bridges is going to be moved. One other quick note in the NBA, Georges Niang, who was traded to Boston, has now been traded back to Utah for R.J. Lewis and a couple of second-round picks. This is not about Georges Niang. He's going to be bought out probably or moved again. It's more about the fact that Chris Boucher, the backup longtime center for the Raptors, signed with the Celtics, and they will move Chris Boucher, will be in the pivot. Remember, Cornette gone, Al Horford unsigned, Porzingis gone. More playing time for Chris Boucher. Let's get to the WNBA because a couple of things have taken place over the last week. Number one, it's the injury to Big Fish. NAPHEESA Collier, who is going to be the runaway MVP, is going to be sidelined for 2 weeks with a right sprained ankle. Obviously, this is big news for a team in Minnesota that's playing exceptionally good basketball. But I think it's something where you may want to watch the MVP market because maybe I put someone like Alyssa Thomas more in play. Speaking of the Minnesota Lynx, DeAndre Carrington got traded from the Dallas Wings to the Minnesota Lynx. And this is a fantastic trade for Minnesota because of the defensive intensity that DeAndre Carrington brings. It allows you to guard the best guard on the other team. It moves Kayla McBride to be more of the natural position she is, which is a shooter for that team. Sneaky good move. Shout out to Candace Parker. She actually brought this up on a podcast, I think yesterday, and she compared it to DeAndre Hunter going to the Cavs, and they had the best record in the East. Great call by Candace Parker. Makes complete sense. Speaking of defensive stoppers going on to teams for a chance to win a ring, how about Brittney Sykes being traded from Washington to Seattle? Seattle gets guard depth for someone that made her first WNBA All-Star team in 9 seasons, and it allows Dallas to focus more on the youth. That means Paige Beckers. Coming up next, we'll get into our scouting report as we head to the Eastern Conference and continue our previews and looking at the over-under win totals for 3 teams in the East. We'll take a look at the Charlotte Hornets, we'll look at the Chicago Bulls, and then lastly, we'll look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll be back to talk about those 3 teams on our award tour after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 172. And it's time to get into our award tour as we break down future markets. As we go through the Eastern Conference, let's continue on from last episode with now the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte comes into this year with a win total of over under 27.5, plus 850 to make the playoffs, with a minus 2,500 to miss. 31, I think that's 31 to 1 to win the Eastern Conference, and 100 to 1 to make and win the NBA Finals. Please don't waste your money on either one of those last two picks. Here's the thing about Charlotte. When you close your eyes, I want you to close your eyes for a second, and I want you to imagine the starting lineup of this team when healthy. LaMelo Ball, one of the best point guards in the league, as your point guard. You look at Brandon Miller, who's someone that can show that can be an electric scorer earlier on in his career. Con Knippel, probably the best straight shooter from the three-point line in this year's draft. And I would tell you, sneaky athletic. Mikal Bridges, while he's had his troubles legally, is a dynamic scorer that can stretch the floor from three and dunk it on your entire roster. And Mason Plumlee is a serviceable big that's been around for a long time. And then you look at the bench. Grant Williams. Does Tijan Salam take a second year leap? Josh Green. You know, you look at these guys and you think Trey Mann came over in a trade. Colin Sexton. And you're like, man, this team is pretty good. Problem is, it can't stay healthy, particularly LaMelo Ball. A LaMelo Ball that last year played 47 games. A LaMelo Ball, if you go and pull up his stats, in the years he's played in the NBA, 51, 76, I think that's 56, so I should need my glasses, 22, 47. Hasn't been healthy. But I got this feeling here. I like Charles Lee as a coach. They won 19 games last year. And when you start looking around in the Eastern Conference to see can they get themselves to 28 wins, you start figuring that Washington is going to be worse than them in their division. I think Miami is worse than people think. I'm not saying they're going to win, 27 games in Miami Heat, but I think there could be wins there. Brooklyn is worse than them. So I've already named 3 teams that are worse than them. And the next team I'm going to talk about in a second, I think is going to be worse too. So I'm going to go over 27.5 wins for the Charlotte Hornets. So if I just told you the next team I'm going under on, that's going to be Chicago. Chicago's win total is 30.5. To make the playoffs, they are plus 470. To miss the playoffs, they're minus 850. And I don't want to even bring up the Eastern Conference or NBA Finals numbers because there's no way that those things are happening. Remember, folks, number one, Chicago finished in last place in the division, even though they made the postseason with 39 wins. They're the worst team in their division again. They also will, at some point, let Nikola Vucevic go. Senge, the rookie out of France, is the only marketable player they brought in. And if you look at it, Josh Giddey, who's great in the second half, hasn't even signed yet because he's a restricted free agent. And then there's Kobe White. A Kobe White that I think could provide value to them if they want to move him at the deadline because of his ability to score a ton off the bench and create his own shot. They also gave Billy Donovan a contract extension, which means, my thoughts, is patience. The rebuild is here. Once Vucevic is gone, Big Vuce will be gone, DeMar DeRozan will be gone, Zach LaVine to be gone, and they traded Lonzo Ball in the offseason for Isaac Okoro. This is a team about getting better once he signed. Looking at a player like Buzelis, does he take a leap in year 2? Do they get something out of Okoro and others? And anybody that's of value that's a veteran should be moved. So I'm going under 30.5 for the Chicago Bulls. Let's get to Cleveland, because they're an intriguing case because their win total is at 55.5 wins. This team won 64 last year. They're going to make the playoffs, so don't worry about the make-miss. Minus 50,000 to make, plus 2,500 to miss. The other things to look at is to win the Eastern Conference, where they are the favorite, and to win the NBA Finals are 7.5 to 1. I personally love Kenny Atkinson. I look at that division. I know Tyrese Halliburton is not there, but Rick Carlisle proved to me he's one of the top 5 coaches in the NBA. Milwaukee, we'll see what they are. But this is more about me being bullish on a team like Detroit. I don't see Cleveland getting to 56 wins. I think, obviously, they'll be better. Obviously, with DeAndre Hunter, being there for a full year. But there's been some key losses to that team. And I just think they're going to come back to the pack. So recap, we're going to go over 27.5 for the Charlotte Hornets. We're going to go under 30.5 for the Chicago Bulls. And we're going to go under 55.5 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Coming up next, round 2 of our award tour, we head to the Western Conference. We look at the Houston Rockets with their win total, LA Clippers with their win total, and then the LA Lakers with their win total. 3 heavyweights. And we'll give you a little buzzer beater with the WNBA. We'll be back with our award tour after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 172. And let's continue our award tour with the Western Conference and first look at an intriguing team in the Houston Rockets. After making the big deal for getting Kevin Durant and signing players like Clint Capella and then re-signing, obviously, and extending Steven Adams, the Rockets' win total sits at 55.5 wins. They're going to make the playoffs. Miss the playoffs? Don't worry about it. To win the Western Conference is 5 to 1, second best odds in the West, and to win the NBA championship, it's 8.5 to 1. Why is Houston being so respected by the sportsbook? Well, number one, y'all are all 1 year too late because I told all of y'all around this time last year that they were going to go over 33.5 wins, and they smashed it. It's because of Ime Udoka. Ime Udoka, forget what he does off the floor. On the floor, he's one of the top 3 coaches in the world right now. They play great defense. And now if you look at that starting lineup of Fred VanVleet at the point, and then obviously, you're going to probably look at Reed Sheppard as the 2. And then you go with a front line of Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Alperen Şengün. You have a closer now, and Kevin Durant that can close games, right? And then obviously Şengün is going to take that next leap again, a.k.a. Baby Joker. Fred VanVleet has won a championship, and Amen Thompson could be one of the top 5 defensive players in the world. But it's their second group with Tari Eason, right? With Clint Capella, with Dorian Finney-Smith, with Steven Adams. This is a team that I think is going to go over 55.5 wins. And if you want to take a slight chance, I think they're going to win the Western Conference at 5 to 1. Why? You get them in a room, Game 7. Who are you taking? You taking Ime Udoka or you taking Mark Daigneault? I'm taking Ime Udoka. Give me over the win total for the Rockets. Let's head west to the Clippers. Intriguing team under win total of 49.5. Make the playoffs minus 550. Miss the playoffs plus 350. 11-1 to win the West. 18-1 to win the NBA championship. And this is really the make or break year for the Clippers, right? Because of the fact of the age of their players, right? Ty Lue, another guy I consider one to be the top coaches in the NBA. James Harden coming off a tremendous season. I think the addition of Bradley Beal, putting him at the 2 as like a number 3, number 4 scoring option is an excellent spot for him to be in. Then you look at the front line. Kawhi Leonard showed to me that when he's healthy, he's a top 10 player still in the world, right? John Collins, you get from Atlanta at the 4 position. I think he's going to be sneaky good to take that next leap. And we talked about Ivica Zubac many times, who I thought he should have been most improved. But Brook Lopez off the bench, Bogdanović off the bench, CP3 off the bench, Nick Batum off the bench. Experience, depth, coaching. I'm going to go over 49.5 wins. Or if you'd rather take someone with a little bit of plus money, look for them to win the Pacific Division. Wait a minute. I just said win the Pacific Division. So the Lakers now come in at 48.5 wins. Minus 500 to make the playoffs, plus 320 to miss it. 10-1 to win the West, 17-1 to win the NBA Finals. Simply put, I think there's drama. Don't ask me why. I have no proof. I don't think LeBron's staying. I look at this team. I still see a lot of flaws. And can Luka and some of these teams stay healthy? These guys stay healthy, and particularly do they have the perimeter shooting? Under 48.5 for the Lakers. More because I'm going over 49.5 for the Clippers. Let's get to our buzzer beater. The Connecticut Sun, who have been so underfunded, I know they're backed by the Meekin Sun Casino, has been bought by a new investor who is a part owner of the Celtics that wants to plan and move them to Boston for a record $325 million. You think this is a slam dunk? It is not, because the league really wants to keep that team in Connecticut. There's expansion coming. I know they're going to Portland. They're going to Philadelphia, coming back to Detroit, right? They're going to Toronto. They're going to get the league to 18 teams. But they're eyeing Boston in the future. And with that fertile ground of University of Connecticut right in state, the WNBA is going to want to keep Connecticut. Let's see if they try and force a sale to someone that will keep them in state. This has been your Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 172. For all things sports gambling, download the Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. For my producer, Maddie George, who does an awesome job, I want to thank you all for listening. And please always remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.